Good morning and namaste to all of you. Let's start our Saturday class with some prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha, Om Bhurбhavасвah, Tatsavitravare Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Diyo Yo Nah Prachodayat, Asto Ma Sadgamya, तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गम्य मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गम्य ओम सहना भवतु सहना भुनक्तु सवीर्यं कर्वावै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्वेषावहै ओम शांति 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 ओम. So in this Saturday class we are studying Patanjali's Yog Sutras. And this book is called Yog Darshan. So if somebody asks you, what are you studying? Yog Darshan, written by Rishi Patanjali. And it's in the form of sutras. Sutra is the form of writing. So it's not a shlok, it's not a mantra, it's a sutra. Whenever something is written in sutra, a lot of words, they have been taken out. So that's why more explanation is needed when we are studying sutras. So Rishi Patanjali has been telling us that abhyas is very important. Vairagya also, abhyas also. So we ended our last class on verse number 32. So chapter number 1, verse number 32. We were in the middle of it. So let's start all over again. tatpratishedhartham ekatattvabhyasah. Tat means that, and over here that means these obstacles which he was talking about earlier. 9 obstacles and 5 conditions that accompany them. Pratishedhartham, to prevent, to overcome. Because whenever we are doing something, if obstacles come, we got to find a way to overcome the obstacles. So pratishedhartham. Ekatattvabhyasah. Ek means one, tattva means truth or element, and abhyas is the practice. So practice of one single reality. Practice pertaining to only one thing. So meditation on one single truth is the way to overcome these obstacles. Okay, so this is what the abhyas is. Everyday abhyas. So Rishi Patanjali is reinforcing the idea of embracing God through a prolonged, uninterrupted practice. And practice of meditation or japa. Rishi Patanjali has a very concrete idea of practice. It's not a one day this practice and the next day a different practice. According to him, practice means making an effort to stay there. Over here, there really means the realm of consciousness where the truth is. Absolute reality, where it resides in its pristine form. And the practice has to be uninterrupted. Okay, for a long time, long time. So he has been telling us about that also. We should always understand that we can never ever cultivate one-pointed mind by focusing our mind on an object that are not stable themselves. Okay, if the object keeps on moving, my practice cannot be one-pointed. So that's why he's talking about the truth, the reality. Make your practice on this reality which never changes. Because there's no object in this world that can be used as a focal point for meditation, because they keep on moving. So even when we are looking at the object, worldly object, we are trying to meditate on the essence of that object. If you want to do it on a form of a God, go deeper into the essence of the form. So focusing the mind on ever flowing thought constructs a detrimental to meditation. because thoughts are never ending. They always flow outward. So you got to focus the mind on your thought process. If you are doing it on the thoughts keep on moving. So that's why we got to find an object which does not change. So focusing your mind on God will eventually make you free from all afflictions. Karmas, the fruits of the karmas, and you will have omniscient wisdom also that will seep into your mind field, because he talked about the Ishwar before to us, the qualities of the Ishwar. So in this sutra, Rishi Patanjali is making an extra effort to warn the students like us that what is and is not meditation, what is practice and what is not practice. That's what I see in these beautiful sutras. Practice which gives us more inner stability, practice which takes us inside into the inner depths of our reality, practice that introduces us to ourselves. Outcome of that kind of a practice is all the obstacles will eliminate. And finally, that kind of a practice will make us see and embrace the truth directly. So which practice is best? The practice which gives you that. So the most straightforward and effective among all practices is the one which can help you to withdraw your mind from the trivial concerns and fill it with the light of the inner being. That is the practice. And he said, jap will help you. Start with the jap at least. Okay? But remember that all the prerequisites and the precautions we should not forget. Now, we cannot do the jap all the time. We cannot sit in our meditation 24/7. We have duties to do. We mingle with the people. We live in the society. That's why human beings are called social beings. So while we are dealing with other people, other situations, what should be our attitude? Because this kind of an attitude will help us go towards our goal much easily. Verse number 33. It's a little longer sutra, but I will go again word by word and try to see if we can get something out of it. It's a beautiful verse. I heard it from my Guruji ever since I was a little girl. Yeah. It's a very important sutra for people like us who live in this world, who are busy dealing with other people, how to deal with them and how to keep our mind calm and collected. maitreekarunamuditopekshanan, sukhaduhkhapunyapunyavishayanan, bhavanatashchittaprasadanam. So Maitri. Maitri means friendliness. But if we look at this Sanskrit word, it's a lot more than friendliness. See, even this mitra word, it's a compound word. Me means violence or destruction, and tra means power of protection. So Maitri is the spirit that compels your friends to be there for you. Maitri. So that's why it's called friendliness. Karuna. Again, this is also a compound word. Karu means ability to do. like any kind of endeavor, action. Na means to lead, to move forward. So karuna refers to an action or virtue that makes you move forward. Karuna. It's almost like it compels you to pull others out of their misery. That's why the simple translation of karuna means compassion. Mudita. Mudita is the virtue of cheerfulness. Very joyful condition of mind. Mudita. Upeksha. Up means near, around. Iksha means to see. So upeksha means to see near. So implication of this word is to avoid looking into someone else, don't judge them. Upeksha. Uninvolved observation. That is upeksha. Sukha. See, even a sukh word is a compound word. Looks like a small word, but it's a compound word. Su means good or auspicious. Kha means space. So a space filled with goodness. But over here we are talking about mind. That means the mind filled with positive thoughts. That's a sukha. So the space of the mind filled with positivity, or we can call it happiness. And dukha, du means unpleasant, undesirable. And again, kha means space. So space filled with unwanted feelings or thoughts. Punya. Punya is a verb. Punya. Pu means to cleanse, to purify. So punya means virtues that purify the way to the soul. The subtle essence of the virtues. The force that makes us walk on the path of purity. That is punya. And apunya, that which lacks punya, opposite of punya, opposite of purity. So the forces that compel us to walk on the path of impurity, that is apunya. Vishyanam. Vishya means objects. Bhavanatah, by thinking, pondering. Chitta prasadam. Chit is the deeper part of our mind. Prasadam means pristine state of mind. Clarity. Chitta prasadam. Infusing the mind with friendliness, compassion, cheerfulness, and uninvolved observation in relation to those living a happy, miserable, virtuous, and non-virtuous life, respectively. And what is the result of that? It results in reclaiming a pristine state of mind. Okay, so these four, Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeksha, these four, they are related with the Sukha, Dukha, Punya, and Apunya. So Maitri is with the Sukha word, Karuna is with the Dukha word, Mudita is with the Punya word, and Upeksha is with the Apunya word. Remember that. I know there are so many terms in there, but do not get confused. So it's like a 4 attitudes and 4 ways to deal with them if you want to reclaim that pristine state of mind. So these attitudes, they will keep our mind clean. Because abhyas, with the help of the abhyas, we are trying to keep our mind clean. See, just like a abhyas of the Hatha Yoga keeps our body clean also, keep our body strong and flexible, disease-free. But this is the abhyas of the mind. All of this has to do with the mind. So by nature, the mind is serene and crystal clear. That's why he says that you reach to that. Because by nature, it is clean. That's why mind is also called the Devata. With the help of the mind, consciousness breathes life into the body and the sense organs. And we experience the beauty of joy contained in the infinite variety of objects in this world. So mind is a very important part of our personality. So this inner instrument is the means through which we come to know ourselves and the whole world, both inside and outside. Mind is almost like a bridge. So in our other spiritual literature, the Upanishads, the mind is described as the brightest and the fastest among all lights. It illuminates all that is to be seen and breathes life into all that is living. But what happens is impurities seep into it. And mind becomes oblivious of its own brilliance and serenity. It's almost like a gem which is so shining and so clear, but there's a lot of dust on it. We don't see the shine. That's what has happened to our mind. Our minds right now, they have no ability to stand still and shine, because it is propelled by the impurities. It just runs purposelessly from an object to another. And it just gets exhausted. So that's why these yogi gurus, they say that give a rest to your mind. Do the abhyas so that your mind is clean. Because unless you remove the impurities, none of the techniques designed to make your mind calm and one-pointed will work very well. The question is, what are the impurities? Where do they come from? How do they seep into our mind? That is the subject of this particular sutra. Mind's most potent pollutant is violence. Violence stems from the fear of losing that which we hold dear, and nothing is dearer than life itself. When we don't have a sufficient knowledge about the purpose and meaning of life, what do? We accumulate possessions, worldly possessions. We think that more we have, the safer we will be. This is a false idea of security, which leads us to believe that the fewer objects others possess, the weaker they are, and the less threat they pose. So our desire to feel secure splits into two channels. The desire to possess more for ourselves and the desire to see others possess less. And these two desires recognize no boundaries. It could be the physical strength, it could be worldly wealth, it could be anything. anyone who has what we want and anyone who prevents us from achieving our desires is perceived as an enemy. So that's why this great Rishi told us, if you see someone else who is happier than you, think that they are your friends. This will clean your mind. Because otherwise our thoughts get tainted by animosity. When we see somebody having more than us, we don't like it. We want others to have it, but always a little less than what we have. So Rishi Patanjali recognized this. And he said, think that they are your friends. Feeling of animosity is vyadhi. We learned about that in the Obstacles Sutra. That's a mental disease powerful enough to disturb the natural balance of mind. Vyadhi. Opposite of vyadhi is what? Samadhi. So we want to move away from the vyadhi with the help of the practice, abhyas and vairagya. We got to move towards samadhi. Because if this disease is not cured in a timely manner, the mind becomes dull and gloomy. It loses the capacity to think clearly and falls prey to doubt and confusion. So the only cure for vyadhi is to cultivate friendliness toward those who seem to be happy and successful. So again, remember, this friendliness means more than simply extending your hand of friendship to successful people. It really means eliminating the underlying element of animosity that forces us to manufacture enemies in the external world. No jealousy, no competition. It involves transforming the insecure part of ourselves by eliminating violence and ill will. That is me, ill will. And yoking our mind with the true power of protection, the positive thinking, that is a protection. That lies at the core of Maitri. It is the cultivation of Maitri that prevents our mind from inviting its own destruction, and we continue walking towards our destination, feeling well protected. So this cultivation of a Maitri, we are doing it for ourselves. Okay, we don't have to shake hand, we don't have to go to somebody's party, you don't have to do anything. Only thing, you just feel that secure within yourself. Feel happy in the happiness of others. Once we have embraced this great virtue, our mind has no reason to worry. Mind becomes very serene, pristine state. And it can become one-pointed and inward at will. Only a serene mind will be in your control. A worried mind, a jealous mind, an anxious mind can never be in your control. So remember this Maitri word. Whenever you see somebody happy, prosperous, Maitri. It's not a threat to you. The second attitude, he said, karuna. This karuna, compassion, clears the mind and restores serenity. Because cruelty, which is the opposite of compassion, is one of the most injurious of subhuman tendencies. And cruelty dulls the mind to the point where we become insensitive, even to our own thoughts and feelings. And this insensitivity shrivels the heart and narrows the mind. We don't even see the difference between a material object and a living being. In other words, to acquire a material object, we don't even mind hurting the living being. We treat ourselves and others mindlessly, filling our inner world with pain and sorrow, and inflicting our inner pain on those around us. Those who are cruel are made miserable by their own unfulfilled desires and go after those who are weaker than they are. Because they don't know how to capture the real enemy, the desire itself. So acts of cruelty towards others are an expression of our own inner misery. Unless we replace the cruelty born of anger and thwarted desire with the compassion, we will remain caught in our own inner turmoil. So Rishi Patanjali said, friendliness toward happier and more successful people has a direct bearing on serenity of the mind, and compassion has a more indirect effect. Both of them are very important. Compassion helps to infuse the world outside us with peace. And with that peace, we can reclaim calmness, tranquility. If we don't act with compassion, we will keep on going and creating trouble in the external world. And we know the law of karma. If we create trouble, ultimately that trouble will come back to us. So unless you actively cultivate the virtue of compassion, your mind will be disturbed. Okay, karuna. But we know that our desires are not confined to material success. We want to be rich spiritually as well. Spiritual prosperity has to do with inner purity, which is very difficult to measure by external science. Every culture develops its own unique yardstick for measuring purity and holiness. But we are not able to comprehend the inner virtues that enhance our understanding of the spiritual realm. We just constantly compare others with ourselves. We also pollute our minds by focusing our animosity on spiritual people. So according to Rishi Patanjali, we will clean our mind of this impurity by cultivating cheerfulness towards those who seem to be closer to their spiritual goal. Mudita. Okay, mudita towards those who are doing punya work. Somebody is doing great work. You may not go to the temple or a church, but something good is happening there. Feel cheerful about it. That will help us do good too. So you remember Maitri towards Sukh, Karuna with the Dukh, Mudita with the Punya. And then the fourth attitude, Upeksha. Upeksha, because there are people who are not doing that good. We even call them sinners, the fallen ones. Because we human beings are in the habit of spending more time and energy in condemning sinners than in creating an atmosphere that diminishes our attraction to non-virtuous acts. We love to talk about who has fallen. So according to Rishi Patanjali, if you cannot practice friendliness, compassion, and cheerfulness toward people you consider to be non-virtuous, then for the sake of your own mind, at least look at such people without judging them. Without judging them. This requires more than remaining indifferent towards sinners or leaving them alone. Remember, there is a subtle force that compels you to compare and contrast yourself with virtuous as well as non-virtuous people. That force will not let you simply ignore the presence of those whom you find to be misfits. Your own desire to be hailed as a spiritual soul will conjure up negative thoughts and disturb your inner mind. So you cannot escape this phenomena. So learn to see those who seem to be less than virtuous in their own context without judging them. At least we can do that. Don't judge others. We really don't know what kind of a position they are or what made them do what they are doing. Don't ignore them. Don't regard them with indifference, because sometimes loosely we translate this word upeksha as indifference. This will only increase your insensitivity. You will start feeling superior. We are moving towards, we are all one. But if we start feeling superior, how will we improve ourselves? So upeksha, the right translation in this context is uninvolved observation. That will help you feel that at least in all good conscience, you tried your best to understand those who are labeled sinners. Complying with the voice of your conscience is a powerful aid in calming the mind. Because ultimate goal is to calm your mind, to reclaim that serenity of the mind which is serene, but because of all these impurities, we have made it dirty. So we got to reclaim that serene mind. So let me read that translation again so that you get it. It's a very, very powerful, very beautiful sutra. Lot of this we can practice in our daily life and see the benefit of it. Infusing the mind with friendliness, compassion, cheerfulness, and uninvolved observation in relation to those living a happy, miserable, virtuous, and non-virtuous life, respectively. So remember the word respectively, because there's so many words in there. So you got to see which term should be connected with which. Results in reclaiming a pristine state of mind. Bhavanatashchittaprasadanam. That means the mind becomes serene and clear when we cultivate 4 civic virtues in relation to the people around us. We live in the families, We work with other people. We hang around with our friends. So wherever we are, in which condition we are, these attitudes will help us to clean our mind and reclaim that serenity of the mind. Okay? I would suggest that try to memorize this verse. First, just to memorize maitreekarunamuditopekshanan. These 4. Then sukhaduhkhapunyapunyavishayanan. So those 4. Then vishyanam bhavanatashchittaprasadanam. So break it down and try to memorize. Next verse is also very powerful. Let's look at that. Some of you have done it with me. We have practiced this pranayama also in our other classes. Because not only our mental attitude, but our pranayama also helps us to clear our mind. Because we know the physical body and the mind. Physical body is gross and the mind is very subtle, but in between those is the prana. You remember those Kosha's lecture? There is a Anmaya Kosh, then comes the Pranmaya Kosh, then comes the Manomaya Kosh. So Pranmaya Kosh and Pranmaya Kosh we get to know through our pranayama. So this particular pranayama is called prachchhardana and vidharanabhyan. So we'll talk about this in detail, some of it today and rest of it next week. Let's look at these terms. Prachchhardana, vidharanabhyan, prannasya. Prachchhardana. Pra means very special. Chardana means removing the waste matter over here. Okay? It's like a chilna, kisi cheez ko chill dena. Over here, it really means the outgoing breath or forceful exhalation. Prachchhardana. Vidharan, again, V means unique or special. Dharan means to hold. And over here, in this context, it means to retain, to fill. So it's a unique method of exhalation and a special technique for retaining the breath. Va means or, prannasya, the life force. In all these sutras, you see the va. Va means or. So you can use this technique, that technique, or that technique, or that technique. It's up to you which technique, or maybe all of those techniques to clean your mind. Purpose is to have the mind clean. So by practicing a special pranayama that involves forceful exhalation and retention of breath, one acquires a pristine state of mind. And pristine state of mind means your obstacles, you breathe your obstacles away. By energizing the olfactory nerve and surrounding tissues. That's what these yogis are talking about over here. But you got to do it systematically. According to the yoga science and philosophy, pranayama techniques are one of the best ways to purify the mind and make it focused and inward. That's why we see this pranayama on the ladder of yoga, whether we look at the Hatha Yoga or the Raj Yoga. On both sides, pranayama is mentioned. There are several kinds of pranayams. In Hatha Yoga pranayams, we learn how to control our body, how to clean our body, how to lower or make it higher, the temperature also, how to remove some of the ailments with the help of it. But over here, Rishi Patanjali is talking about purifying the mind. There have been hundreds of yogis. They have come up with their ways of teaching these pranayams. Even now we see different ways come up. But we got to look at it, what Rishi Patanjali is telling us. This very particular pranayam, exclusively at making the mind crystal clear. And he says you can eliminate the obstacles to your inner development. There is a great master, Dattatreya. He talked about this pranayam too, prachchhardana vidharan pranayam. Then there was a Guru Gorakhnath. He also mentioned this. So this particular step-by-step technique of doing this pranayama is from Guru Gorakhnath technique. There are 4 steps to it. Purposely, you want to clear out the toxins, the waste matter, because they cover the surface of our glial cells. So we want to give the energy to that part of our body, so that we stimulate the process of healing the body. When the body is healed, when the body is healthy, the mind gets the benefit also. Mind is not worried about the body. So that's why this pranayama is highly recommended. But do it slowly though. I would say 1 step, master it before you move on to the 2nd step, then 3rd step, then 4th step. It should take you a month to master this pranayama. Major prerequisites to do the pranayama. Sure, you got to make sure that you're sitting, not standing. You can sit on the chair if you like to, but if you can sit on the floor, sit on the floor. Bring your mind inward before you do the pranayama. So high degree of mental stability is needed. Not a wandering mind, not watching TV and doing the pranayama. Because the sensitivity to the movement of the pranic force through the energy channels, you should observe. Step 1. Inhale deeply through both nostrils first, like. At the pinnacle of the inhalation, close your right nostril and exhale forcefully through the left nostril. Okay. You are emptying your lungs vigorously. When the exhalation is complete, inhale deeply through the left nostril as gently and smoothly as possible. No noise, no jerks during the inhalation. Once you have completed your inhalation, again exhale vigorously through the left nostril. Exhale and inhale 3 times through the left nostril, while keeping the right nostril closed. Then you should bring your attention to the center between the eyebrows, the Agya chakra, and take a few normal breaths through both nostrils. Then the second part of this step 1 is reverse the nostrils. Take a normal breath through both nostrils. Now exhale vigorously through the right nostril while keeping the left nostril closed. Then inhale gently, smoothly through the right nostril. And this also do 3 times. When you have completed 3 exhalation and 3 inhalations through the right nostril, again bring your attention to the eyebrow center. Take 3 normal breaths. So this is a complete cycle of step 1. Practice this step for a week before you move on to the second step. Okay? So that means you are making sure that your body is straight. Your attention is only towards your breath. And mindfully, you are doing this process. And not only exhalation and inhalation, but at the same time, you are doing a little meditation also. Every single day. And then next week, when we start the class, we'll go through the step 2, 3, and 4 also. So let's just stop it here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much.